Coffee culture is heating up in India, and whether it's the favorable demographics or the increase in disposable income or just the increase in aspirational spend, a lot of domestic and foreign players are flocking to India. But what's brewing in the Indian coffee industry and why a lot of these foreign brands are smelling the coffee and waking up to the Indian markets? We'll decode all of that with Philippe Schaillee, the global CEO of Costa Coffee, joining us on the show. Hi Philippe, pleasure having you here.
Hi Anisha, fantastic to be here.
First time in India, how has it been?
It is the first time in India. It's been very long on my list, and of course it's an opportunity to come into this market which is pivoting into the coffee culture very fast. It's been amazing to see the progress in the country and to see the headroom for growth for the coffee category and for Costa in particular.
And is that the reason a lot of these foreign brands are coming to India? What exactly is making India so attractive at the moment, you believe?
Yeah, you know, because of the sheer size of the country, the population of the country, India is already in the top 20 of the largest coffee consuming countries in the world, which you would not think about, right? Despite that, it's only at 20 to 30 cups per year in terms of consumption per capita, which you can compare with an average global consumption per capita, which is 200. And when I look at the country that I'm coming from, Belgium, it's more in the 500s or 600s. So you can only imagine how much headroom for growth there is in the Indian market. And it is reflected in the growth rates. When you look at average growth, compound average growth rate of coffee globally, it's around 5%. In India, it's more 11 to 12%. If we continue that growth rate in the next couple of years, yeah, you can see what the potential is in this market.
Clearly, a lot of adrenaline rush is what we are seeing in India as far as this caffeine addiction is concerned. And I'm guessing that's the reason a lot of these foreign brands, right, from a Tim Hortons to Pret a Manger to even Elan for that matter, is looking at coming to India. What is Costa Coffee doing differently? How do you stand out ahead of the competition?
Yeah, well, actually, before I get into that, maybe it's interesting to know that the growth of the coffee market is basically entirely happening in the premium end of the coffee category, because premium coffee is bringing new varieties, hot and cold coffee. And within premium coffee, the growth is being driven by specialty coffee store brands. And that is because when you enter a specialty coffee store, you've got an amazing variety of drinks. You've got a full experience of the coffee store, and you got a full experience and a very personalized experience that you can get out of the coffee that you can get there, which you cannot get at home. So it is specialty coffee store brands that are driving the growth globally of the coffee category. When you look at India and you see the potential of the category, you see young coffee consumers who basically are seeing the tea category or filter coffee category in the southern part of the country as the drink of their parents. They're immediately leapfrogging into premium coffee, specialty coffee. And of course, all the large global specialty coffee players have seen that. And they see, as they see the potential, they want to be early to step into the potential. What's interesting is, as large as the nation is in terms of population, today the real consumers of specialty coffee are only 25 to 30 million Indian consumers. But every day, every second, every minute, every day, there's new consumers being added. And we all wanted to be part of that early on. So why Costa?
Yeah.
Costa, first of all, is the second largest specialty coffee brand player in the world. We are active in close to 50 markets and in over 30 markets with our specialty coffee stores, and in other markets with other platforms. We're recognized as a brand that first of all has an authentic founder story. And I think I'm always very proud to say that. It was the Costa brothers who 52 years ago came from Italy to the UK, a tea consuming country.
Yeah.
And they basically were frustrated because they couldn't find good coffee into that market. So they decided to take that on themselves. And they started with a wholesale business, then they opened the business. They were famous for actually serving their coffee to the Ritz-Carlton, bringing the coffee in a traditional black taxi cab. So gradually it started building out, and today we have 2,800 stores in the UK. Always with that pride of the Costa brothers. And it's funny because we've been converting consumers in a tea drinking country like the UK to specialty coffee, and we see now that the growth of coffee is accelerating in tea consuming countries in the rest of the world. And so of course we want to be part of that again. And we want to do that in India in a similar way with the Costa brand.
You talked about how rest of the globe is growing at a rate of around 5-6% when it comes to the coffee industry versus India, which is around 11%. So does that mean India is one of the fastest growing market for Costa as well, apart from UK, which is of course your, the home ground?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's clear that of course in our home market, a very mature market, that you're growing at a slower pace, although we're very pleased with the pace of growth in that market. But indeed, in those more emerging coffee markets, we see that our pace can be 10, 20, 30, 40%, doubling. So that it's amazing to see that the growth potential that we believe in is being confirmed into those markets.
And since we're talking about the local factor and how, of course, there's a lot of Indianization that has also happened apart from indigenization, and that's also happening as far as the coffee beans itself is concerned, right? Not only the foreign brands are coming to India, the Indian coffee is also being exported, and that Indian origin coffee is something which is now being sought after. You've, of course, been a coffee drinker and a coffee expert yourself. Tell us, how does the Indian coffee stack up versus the other blends?
It's a very broad question. I'll tell you why.
Sure.
India has Arabicas, washed Arabicas and washed Arabicas Robustas, super high quality origins, lower quality mass origins. What is amazing, I believe that India is today the 6th largest producer of coffee in the world, coming from nowhere. And so becoming not only a credible supplier base for us in India, but also for other markets. So we have products that are being sold in the UK and on the continental European markets which are manufactured here in India and using Indian beans. And with the scarcity of beans from certain origins in the world, I'm thinking of Vietnam, for instance, we are actively looking if we can start evolving into blends which utilize more Indian green coffee than we've done before.
Okay, so that's good to hear. More of Indian blend coming in the rest of the global arena as well. But talk to me about, when you're saying that India is so important for you, what's the vision? Because recently I believe you've inaugurated your 150th store. Where do you see from here on growing at what rate?
Well, first of all, the inauguration of the 150th store has been a highlight in my first 6 months.
Was it the most vibrant one that you have seen?
It was by far the most vibrant one. There was an amazing rhythm. There was an amazing pride of our associates, of our baristas. It was just absolutely incredible. I've told my managing directors of other regions that that's now the expectations for store openings in other markets, of course. But it was a celebration of getting to 150 stores in a relatively short period of time, thanks to an amazing partnership with Devyani, our franchise partner, who is doing an incredible job in building out stores in the right locations and having them grow at the right pace and building the right quality standards and the right operating excellence. So big milestone for us.
Yeah, big milestone. 150 is no small feat, but what more? Because if I have it right, in the last 12 months, you guys have been very aggressive, added 60 stores already? Is that the run rate of growth that we should expect, 60 to 70 stores per year?
Well, I think what you've seen is that we're getting to a growth rate of 50 to 60 stores the last couple of years, and I think we're very comfortable with that growth rate, and our partner is very comfortable with that. We're not necessarily looking for speed.
Okay.
We're looking for disciplined growth. We like that pace because it's important to open up stores in the right locations and getting them right so that the consumers immediately get a perfect consumer experience. Of course, we're consistently with them. We're looking at other opportunities, and we're testing different things, or we're testing different formats. But this is a very appropriate pace. Yeah.
Yeah, calibrated expansion, that's the way to go forward as well. So 50 to 60 stores per year. But what about the different partnerships that you're talking about, the interesting tie-ups? And I heard a recent tie-up that Devyani has done, of course, on your behalf, and that's with PVR to kind of sell the coffee in select theatres. How strategic is going to be that partnership?
I think it's very strategic, it's very promising. I was with them yesterday. I have to say, I don't think I've ever had a cinema experience as there, and had the chance to see the intro of Jain, which I did not know. Now I know, and now I want to see the whole movie. I have to find it in London. But clearly, cinemas within the leisure segment are a segment that we know well. We have strategic partnerships with movie chains in the UK, in some of our European markets in the Middle East. They're working very well. It's fantastic that Devyani has facilitated, also Coca-Cola, our mother company, have facilitated us to get into PVR Inox. And again, there we want to be focused on getting that right, because this is a totally different format. It's a different experience that you're building. With a more limited offering, but multiple occasions that you're creating. What is fantastic about it is that you're getting the right audience, and you're multiplying the consumer contact points that you have with your stores, now also within cinemas, at different day parts. But again, we want to learn, assess how our first couple of openings are going, and then work together with Devyani and with PVR Inox to set the right pace for growth.
So that's about PVR Inox, but are there any such partnerships? Because I've been seeing a lot of Costa Coffee even in airports, right? Any such more tie-ups at airports, malls, hotels?
Well, airports are an amazing location, an amazing occasion for us. You have a target group which is used to travel around, oftentimes has been confronted with Costa in other markets, sees one of our more than 10 stores in the airport and want to be part of that, want to consume. So clearly in airports we will continue to grow. We do that together with Devyani. We also have a couple of stores that are managed by another partner, an airport retail operator, HMS host, and that is working fantastically. Are we looking at other segments? We know what segments where the Costa format works in other markets, and we will assess that at the right time if that's also relevant in the Indian market. Again, it's a very new market for us, so together with our partners we want to test and learn, make sure that the model is working, that the format is working, that an occasion is working, and then we move forward.
Interesting. You've been talking about how smoothly and seamlessly the partnership with Devyani is going on, but that's the sole franchisee partner that you have in the country, right? Are you looking at expanding that, bringing somebody else on board as well, or continue to stick with only Devyani International?
Yeah, so besides the airport retail operators where you have to operate with the ones who are actually operating the stores or the retail stores in that market, we are committed to our sole partnership with Devyani. We believe that when you open a new market, it's important to have a scale partner, so that we can manage the complexity, we can manage the brand coherence, and the operating excellent execution.
Okay, interesting. That gives me 60 stores in India. I just want to delve down deeper into it. Which are the geographies that you're targeting? Because right now, if I have it right, Costa is a lot more concentrated in North India. Are you looking at probably expanding your presence?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's basically very simple. We want to go where the consumers, the target consumers for specialty coffee are. And they are, of course, much more in tier ones, the larger tier cities, on a national basis. So we focused in the beginning more on the northern part of the country. We're increasingly also moving south. But it will always be, in the next couple of years, very focused on the larger cities.
Okay, so continue to focus on larger cities, but you know, even in the smaller towns, the tier 2, tier 3 cities, a lot of coffee culture is developing thanks to the entire mushrooming of domestic brands that we have seen in specialty coffee, right? From a, Araku to a Blue Tokai to a Slay Coffee, and the list really goes on. Did you get a chance to try any of our domestic, specially brewed coffee?
Absolutely. So I've tried a couple of those stores, a couple of those brands. They're obviously very fair competitors. First of all, what I would say is the market is growing tremendously and will become very big. So there's room for everybody. What I appreciate of those new players is that they are helping educate a tea drinking consumer and convert them into specialty coffee. We believe we have a great offering, both from a beverage perspective and from a food perspective, and we have an amazing experience in our stores, and we have a global brand. So we believe that we're very well positioned, and as consumers are being converted by others, to bring them into our brand.
That's a good strategy, right? But apart from the fact that we Indians are big suckers for tea, we are also big suckers of affordability, and the pricing is also something which is very, very elastic for us. How are you ensuring that the pricing as well of your menu is at par or competitive with the peers, whether the foreign players or even the local players?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the end, a cup of coffee is an affordable luxury, right? It's a treat. It's a moment out of the everyday hustle and bustle, and you're getting a moment of indulgence, a moment of energy. So the price even of specialty coffee within that context is not that high. We believe that those 25 to 30 million consumers, which are currently the target group for specialty coffee, they're willing to pay that price. We believe that there will be more and more consumers that will say, you know what, a few times per week, I want to pay that extra price for great tasting coffee and a great experience. So we believe that we're priced at the right level.
And are you targeting people to more come to your cafes, or otherwise delivery is also one thing which is picking up in India, right? Is that also a medium which looks very attractive to you, or you're largely centering your branding and marketing to get the people into the cafe?
It's both. Of course, as we're a relatively new brand and a relatively new phenomenon, we put a lot of emphasis on bringing people into our stores. We're also putting a lot of emphasis and a lot of activation in making sure that people are coming more frequently and that they're trying all of our beverage and foods when they're there. But at the same time, we want to follow the trend of more and more food and beverage delivery. I mean, food delivery was first, beverage delivery has started. We see markets like China where food delivery is making up in some of our stores up to 50%. And so here we are only at the start. I think the industry has already advanced in other categories, and we have to pick up on that. We have to do it the right way, but we're setting a lot of focus on that in the next year.
Interesting. But since it's your first time in India, I'm curious to know, was there any reason to time your visit coinciding with the World Cup? Are you watching any matches, or is that on the list or not?
That was a trick question I was hoping that you would not ask. So I'm a huge sports fan, and I don't know cricket yet.
I had to get it on the record.
Yeah. Obviously, having lived for many years in the Netherlands, it's not a great sport there yet.
I like that yet.
as I'm working in London and eventually moving to London, of course, big sport into the UK, so that will allow me to get closer to the sport. And as India is becoming more and more important for us, and as we have this partnership with the World Cup in India, I want to get to know the sport. I want to see the sport, and I want to understand where all that enthusiasm and passion is coming from.
So next time you're visiting, I'm asking you more trivia questions as far as cricket is concerned, definitely. But you know what? Not the trivia questions, but let me put you on spot and ask you some rapid fire questions then. What do you think? Brewing coffee is an art or a science?
It's first of all a science. I don't know if all of our baristas will like that, but obviously it is training, it's having the right equipment, it's having the right coffee, and it's that symbiosis, and being well trained gets it to a science. Where the art comes in is the latte art, the creativity that you put on top. And of course, we're very proud of our baristas who are excelling in barista cups across the globe in latte art cups, because they're also adding to that science, that art.
And then the love that comes with it, right? On account of
course.
the uplifting life that we have here. But tell me, tea or coffee?
Oh, you know, I mean, I think you need to offer choice to consumers. It's fantastic that despite the increasing shift into coffee, that the growth of the tea category is still continuing, because also there's more and more variety. I think for me, it's coffee. And that's not because I'm in the CEO role of Costa. It is because coffee is running through my veins. I could not get through a day without coffee.
How many coffees a day do you drink?
Yeah, I'm scared to admit that it's probably on average around 8.
My God,
and that's
if
the
your doctor
average.
is listening to this, I don't think he'll be happy with it at all. 8 or 9 coffees a day is quite a bit. Tell me one thing, what's the maximum you'll ever pay for a coffee? In pounds, euros, whatever is okay. But what's the maximum you'll be willing to pay?
For a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think for a specialty coffee with special preparation, I could go up to $10.
Interesting, $10 for a cup of coffee, okay. But which is the best coffee you've had? And don't say Costa Coffee and be politically correct. Anything in the world, any special coffee that you've had, anything interesting? Or you'll have to stick with Costa, is that the case?
Well, that is obviously the best answer. I think you know, I was 2 months ago with my family in Costa Rica, another coffee origin. And it's a country of course that produces a lot of coffee and is known for coffee, but it was not known for its specialty coffee culture. So I'm in the middle of the country, close to the Arenal volcano, and haven't had for days a good espresso. I drink espresso, and we passed this very little specialty coffee store, individual specialty coffee store. I stopped with my kids, and the espresso was just amazing, absolutely amazing. So that's the one that comes to mind. It's oftentimes also the location, the occasion, who you're with.
So which is the country or city that comes to mind when you think of a very good coffee culture, very vibrant, very interesting?
There's quite a few countries that come to mind. You've got, of course, the Australian market, which I used to run, and where on every corner, in every office, the accessibility to amazing specialty coffee is there. There's basically no chains because it's all individual stores.
Yeah.
That one comes to life, but I also have to say, I mean, I was in Dubai last week visiting our market over there, and you see the creativity that they're putting in drinks. The combinations are absolutely stunning. So everywhere you pick something up.
Since you're talking about combination, what's the best combination that goes with coffee, in your experience?
In terms of food?
Food.
Yeah. I'd say that coffee paired with fantastic bakery items, an amazing freshly baked croissant or pain au chocolat. It's simple, but it's still so incredible. An amazing brownie muffin, which is coming fresh out of the oven, is still unbeatable.
Okay, you have tantalized my hunger already. So let's take that break and wrap up this conversation and perhaps head for one of those bakery items. Thanks, Philippe, for making time and speaking with us. Absolute pleasure.
It was amazing. Thank you very much.